But, as you know, it is the second hour of the Thursday show. That means AccuTim's going to let us throw it into the Wayback Machine.
Throwback Thursday, presented by AccuTim, your AC and electrical experts.
Has to roll back to the near side, and he's going to throw it. Oh, it's going to be caught! Caught! Touchdown! Holy cow!
Haunted Hills Throwback Thursday.
To this day, this game is the most fun I've ever had in Tiger Stadium. We did a few weeks back. It's actually early in the season. We did my favorite game in Tiger Stadium, and that was the 2003 Georgia game. That's my favorite game. This, in terms of just unbridled joy and enjoyment, this is it. So we'll get into it right here. So shout out AccuTim for bringing you Throwback Thursday. In the final week of August in 2008, Hurricane Gustav formed off the coast of Africa and began strengthening as it approached Haiti and Jamaica. By the time it had ripped through the Western Caribbean and entered the Gulf, it had become a Category 4 hurricane with sites directly on the Gulf Coast. The 2008 Tigers were the defending national champions of college football. They entered the season ranked in the top 10 despite having some significant question marks at the quarterback spot. Highly touted freshman turned SEC championship game MVP Ryan Perilou had been kicked off the team, leaving the roster with redshirt freshman Jarrett Lee, true freshman Jordan Jefferson, and Harvard transfer Andrew Hatch. Hatch would get the start in the opener, a win over Appalachian State that was move up to 10 a.m. on Saturday in order to complete the game and allow everyone the opportunity to get out of Gustav's path. The Tigers would handle App State with ease, and then the state of Louisiana braced for impact. On Monday, September 1st, Gustav made landfall near Morgan City, Louisiana, and ravaged the south-central part of the state. High winds flattened homes, uprooted trees, severed power lines. By the time everyone started their Tuesdays, it was clear that South Louisiana was in for a considerable rebuild. The decision was made on Wednesday, the 3rd, to postpone LSU's home game that coming weekend with Troy. It was initially scheduled for that Saturday. The team shared an open date later in the year, November the 15th, and as Baton Rouge and the area climbed from beneath the debris, football would take a back seat for a couple of weeks. When the Tigers returned to the field, they followed a drubbing of North Texas with a dramatic comeback win at Auburn, engineered on the arm of the freshman Jarrett Lee. Andrew Hatch had to leave that game with a concussion, and Lee would start the next week in a win over Mississippi State that vaulted the Tigers to top 5 status in the country. But from there, things started to unravel a little bit. A turnover-prone offense and a spotty defense headed up by co-coordinators Todd Mallory and Bradley Dale Pivoto contributed to blowout losses to Florida and Georgia. But the Tigers rallied the troops and took number 1 Alabama into overtime in Tiger Stadium before losing an absolute heartbreaker. That set the stage for one of the wildest games in Tiger Stadium history. No, not the overtime game against Alabama. The rescheduled matchup with Troy's Trojans. This is that story. If you wanted to watch Troy and LSU on November the 15th, 2008, you had to buy Tiger Vision. There was no SEC Network, no SEC Network Plus. You couldn't stream it on YouTube TV or Hulu, and you couldn't catch it on your iPad. And why would you want to watch it? LSU had already lost 3 games. They were 17-point favorites over the visitors from the Fun Belt. LSU hadn't lost a non-conference regular season game in 7 years and figured to have little trouble with Troy on a Saturday night in Death Valley. It became obvious pretty early that that wasn't going to be the case. On Troy's first drive of the game, the Trojans marched 88 yards on 16 plays and took a 7-0 lead. After the Tigers answered with a 52-yard Colt David field goal, Troy carved up the LSU defense once again, going 67 yards for a score that made it 14-3 in a stunned Tiger Stadium that had, let's just say, enough elbow room for those in attendance. Looking for a spark, Les Miles called upon Jordan Jefferson to take over the reins of the offense. But that resulted in a 3-and-out, and Jarrett Lee went back in for the next drive, and that was another 3-and-out. Troy then mounted another long drive, 15 plays this time, but LSU's defense held, and they forced a field goal that made it 17-3 early in the second quarter. LSU would take over and lose 11 yards on its next 3-and-out, and to that point, LSU's offense had 5 drives and managed a total of 35 yards. The defense would force a Troy punt, and a good one. It pinned LSU at the 6-yard line. And on 3rd down for LSU, crisis mode was engaged after Jarrett Lee's ill-timed mistake.
The fellow goes in motion. There's a snap, and Lee is back in the end zone to throw. And he does, and there it is. It's intercepted at the 25 to the 20. 15-10, 5, touchdown. Unbelievable.
The defensive scores that had plagued LSU's offense had struck again, and it was 24-3 Troy with 6 minutes and 45 seconds to play in the first half. Thousands flocked to the exits, and they did not return to their chilly seats that night. Jordan Jefferson would take control of the LSU offense for the last 3 drives of the first half. They amounted to a total of 26 yards. But thanks to the defense forcing a fumble that set LSU up in good field position before the half, LSU was able to attempt a 41-yard field goal on the final play of the first half.
David will try a 42-yard field goal. There's the snap. Oh, and it's fumbled by Dowfrey, and he threw the ball. Oh, my goodness, what a mess. And that's the way the first half is going to come to an end, and that is just a messy way to end a messy first half.
You hear the fans booing there, and Jim, we feel your pain. As boos poured out of a nearly empty Tiger Stadium as LSU hit the locker room, trailing Troy 24-3. Troy would take the ball to start the second half, and LSU would provide absolutely zero resistance. 10 plays, 79 yards, and the route was on in Baton Rouge. Lee returned to the field to start the second half for LSU, but the struggles continued. LSU would at least pick up a first down, but another punt was to follow. The yardstick read 313-81, and somehow the scoreboard was even worse. 11 minutes and 9 seconds to play in the third. It was 31-3 Troy. It was at that point that everything changed, and I mean everything. It may have been the most dramatic shift in momentum I've ever witnessed in a football game. I'm sure 50,000 people will claim today that they witnessed it, but in reality, there were no more than 8,000 people in the stadium for the remainder of that game, and it probably got significantly less than that. LSU would send Lee back out, and the Tigers finally found some consistency in the passing game. Lee completed 6 of 8 throws as the offense marched down inside the 5. Jefferson would check in from there and find pay dirt for LSU's first touchdown of the game, 31-10, your score. Troy quickly went 3 and out, and LSU took over as the game entered the fourth quarter. Just a couple of plays into the fourth, LSU had struck again. This time, it was from a longer range.
Receivers on both sides, second down and 5. Lee play action fake, back to throw. He's got LaFell open, and he's got it. Touchdown! Right on the money. He caught the ball at the 3-yard line. Another 33-yard play. How about that?
Deep post pattern.
LSU had some life. It was 31-17, and something never before seen in Tiger Stadium began to spread. In the movie Angels in the Outfield, a young boy begins to see angels who help his favorite team. He's the only one that can see them. When they appear, he signals the team's manager by flapping his arms. Some wacky students in the student section started mimicking that sign early in the fourth quarter. It was funny, it was stupid, but it was working. Troy would take the ball. They'd be immediately forced with a 4th and 1 from the LSU 40, and trying to win the ball game, they decided to go for it.
Brown back there by himself, looks to throw. He is hit as he is thrown, and it is incomplete at the 40, and LSU gets it.
And Cotrera again is the one who made contact with Brown.
The wings started flapping. With just under 13 minutes to play, LSU had belief and the football. Lee and the offense set out to trim the lead again. They traversed 60 yards in 7 plays, and Quinn Johnson, the fullback, plunged in to make it just a 7-point game with 10.5 minutes to go. LSU had scored 21 unanswered points in about 10 minutes of game time. Troy's offense was in total disarray. Quarterback Levi Brown and company faced a 3rd and 6 2 plays into its next drive, and they made another costly mistake.
Tiger fans, the ones that are left, really into it now. Brown has it, drops to throw, being chased. He throws it, and it is intercepted. It is intercepted by Jones. 20, 15, he's down at the 14-yard line. Great pressure on Brown, and Jones intercepts it, and LSU has it 1st and 10 at the 14-yard line.
There wasn't so much passion and intensity in Tiger Stadium as there was just delirium and pure joy. LSU was absolutely rolling to that point after one of the worst starts in the history of the program. This time, the Tiger offense wasn't able to punch it in from great field position afforded by Jones's pick. Instead, Colt David booted home a field goal that made it 31-27 with 7 minutes and 44 seconds to play. Now the Tiger defense was riding a wave of confidence. They forced an easy 3 and out on 3 Troy incompletions. LSU would take over at midfield, forced a punt back to Troy with 6 minutes and 30 seconds left on the clock.
Dowfrey will punt it away And it's Calvin back deep to receive. There's a snap and a ugly-looking kick. They hit a defender, and LSU falls on it. Did it hit Troy or LSU?
It hit Troy.
Then LSU's got it at the 20-yard line. It was an ugly-looking.
Troy had completely unraveled to this point. LSU took over at the 20. They needed just 4 plays to finally climb the mountain and take their first lead of the entire ballgame.
Jefferson goes under center. Dixon in motion out of the I formation. They hand off to Scott. He plows ahead into the end zone for the score. And LSU has taken the lead for the first time in the ballgame.
LSU would botch the extra point, but the Tigers had a 33-31 lead with 4:45 to play in the game. Troy still had a chance to go down and kick a game-winning field goal. Instead, the Trojans backed up 4 yards, failed on a 4th and 14 try from their own 34-yard line, and turned the ball back over to LSU. LSU only needed 1 first down to ice the game because Troy only had 1 timeout remaining, so it was time for Chuck the Truck to finish the deal.
Receiver near side I formation. Lee under center, hands it off, and Scott plows ahead, breaks a tackle, then another, still going, 10, he's down to the 5-yard line. Holy cow, what a powerful run by Charles Scott. Finally weighed down by the strong safety Williams, 29 yards on the gallop. It is 1st and goal to go, LSU at the 4.
Quinn Johnson would plunge it in for good measure and provide the final scoring margin of 40-31. The Tigers had ripped off 37 unanswered in front of literally dozens of Chili fans remaining in Tiger Stadium. It was the largest comeback win in the history of the school, and it's today's Throwback Thursday presented by AccuTemp. I want to remind you this month, AccuTemp giving back by offering their friends and family discount. That means you can get savings of up to $4,000 on a new AC install. Call AccuTemp to get your new AC for as low as $80 a month. AccuTemp, they give you service to the highest degree, and they give you Throwback Thursday every single Thursday. That's the story of LSU and Troy.
Man, that was I remember when that one was one for the ages, being there as a recruit and just watching that stadium empty out. I'll be honest, I probably would have emptied out too, but I didn't have a car at the time, so I had to kind of hang out at the game. So I kind of just hung out till that thing was over. And look, what was I one to stay for? Because that was a heck of a second half. And Chuck the Truck, man, that dude was just running through people, man. That dude was a load, and it was a pleasure to watch him run that ball.
I make this comparison, and this won't hit home for everybody, but it will for some. If you played the video game NCAA football ever growing up, there's 4 difficulty levels that you can put it on. You can put it on freshman, you can put it on varsity, you can put it on All-American, you can put it on Heisman. You put it on freshman mode, the other team doesn't really rush the passer. Your guys catch everything. Even if they have open receivers, they drop it. It's the easiest thing you've ever done. You can win 100-0 if you're any good. Put it on Heisman, things like move real fast. You got to know what you're doing a little bit to play. That game, LSU was on Heisman mode for 3 quarters. They couldn't run the ball at all. They were dropping the ball, throwing pick sixes, an absolute disaster. And it switched to freshman mode early in the 3rd quarter, and they did whatever they wanted. Picking off, they stopped the run, picking guys off. Then they had Troy muffing the punt with the gunner. It was a total disaster by Troy after that. And there's no way you can blow a 31-3 lead into the 3rd quarter, and Troy gave it up with ease. They gave up an extra touchdown after they lost. It was absolute whitewashing, and I was just, you can't really get that mad when you're down 31-3 to Troy. That is just a situation where it's just like, this is unbelievable. And then when things started good were happening, there's no one left in Tiger Stadium. You're never in Tiger Stadium when it's like that, where it's a close game and there was no one there. There were not even close to 10,000 people there. I was one of them because I never left games early as a student and I was a junior. But it's like everyone's just laughing. We're scoring touchdowns. Did you see this? This is unbelievable. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen in Tiger Stadium.
Yeah, that was nuts, man. It was just so, you never see it that empty, man. And to see the team find a way to win that game, I thought they laid down. I thought it was over. I thought there was no way on earth that Troy, of all people, weren't going to let us back in that game. And you saw the talent, man. You saw a lot of Louisiana boys out there making plays, and you saw that talent just kind of take over. And when those guys are locked in, ready to go, you saw why they're probably favorite to win that game. So just really just inexcusable, and just I really don't know how you end up being down 31-3 to Troy, but that's exactly where we were, right there in Death Valley, getting our butts kicked by Troy.
And we'll see in 2017. But look, the Angels in the outfield thing, I'll remember forever. It was so stupid. And some of those people at the bottom of I was doing it. 100% I was doing it. I was in the student section and flapping my arms like a moron. Because what else are you going to do when you're coming back from 30 down against Troy? And you could hear in Jim Hawthorne's voice in the first half how totally disgusted he was with how LSU was playing. And then all of a sudden, you hear some juice in his voice as LSU's coming back. Yeah. It's just an unbelievable ball game.